Welcome to the Montreal Marketeers. We're here with Mario D'Amico.
Yep.
Mario D'Amico. I'm not going to introduce your brand, your product, because I think you do it best. So let's start off by you telling us why we're here.
Well, that's a really good question because we were super busy today. I don't know why you guys are here. No, but so we make Italian-style liqueurs made in Quebec. Homage to the Italian family, but also always keeping in mind that we are immigrants in a society that has welcomed us, my ancestors, and so we're always keeping in mind that we have to be hybrid. There's some local products, so we do some spirits like that. We also collaborate with another distillery. We have great products, and I think you guys wanted to hear more about it. So yeah.
Yeah, no. What happened was Matt introduced me to the MM23 product.
So basically, I went to an SAQ. I was looking for a specific vermouth made by La Lab, and I really wanted to try it. And it was in a Quebec section, and I saw your products. It's the first time I had seen it. I think it was about 2-3 months ago, and I picked them both up.
Really?
Came back home. Said, Vince, let's come over here, let's try this stuff. I know I saw a coffee profile on the MM23, you're obsessed with that. So we came over, he's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Vince does, tells everybody in the world, everybody starts drinking it. And I read up your story on your website, and I tell Vince, we really got to get him on the show.
Oh, cool.
And that's how we are here now.
Yeah, and I think what was interesting too is the fact that you just touched on it a bit, but collaborating with other Quebec brands, I thought that was so cool. I just thought that was so also like unselfish of the brand to say, it's not all about me, it's about you guys and your experience with customers. So I want you guys to try this with this brand. I think it tastes best this way and so forth.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, you're the boys from Marianne. I mean, we collaborate, but I mean, I kind of owe them everything. Like, we didn't. I didn't want to find the initial capital to have to build a distillery. And there are some delays associated with getting permits and getting inspected and then you start. So I definitely wanted to collaborate with a distillery which was already set up. So the boys from Marianne are definitely the hardest working motherfuckers I have ever met. Like those guys. I mean, sometimes I'll just drive up to Louisville, next to Three Rivers where the distillery is, and there are no cars, and I'm like, they're late again. It turns out they're not late. GP's actually sleeping by the distilling whiskey. So like those guys work really hard and they work really fast and they're very efficient. So I mean, for me, it was like I owe them everything. Like I initially went to them with this idea. We had prototypes and we were doing R&D, and it just went so fast. So yeah, like you say, I do it to be generous, but I also do it because I owe them. So like those are two boys who like are from the woods, from like Gaspésie, and they used to be forest engineers, and they work really hard, but their sales skills weren't that great. So they really needed someone to represent their line of products. Turns out they complement my portfolio anyways, and it's just great for everyone. So we do their sales, we do all their representation, they do all the production.
So just to understand properly, you originally, without knowing how you're actually going to produce it, like on a massive scale or on a relatively big scale, you came up with the recipe for your two, for the aperitivo and for the Amaro, and then you decide, okay, now how am I actually going to produce this large scale? Like, how did that work out for you?
Well, so the whole story is, so going back, this is while I was still at Ungava, and we can talk about Ungava later. I think the things Ungava Spirits has done for the micro distilling industry in Quebec is really important. So we can talk about those guys. But while I was, I guess I have to say now the things Ungava did and that we did together my time that I was management there was so important that the second largest player in the world came to buy us out. So this is Pernod Ricard, so like the French company, the pastis. But like Pernod Ricard, most people don't know, but they also own Absolute Vodka, and they also own Havana Club in a joint venture with the Cuban government. They own Beefeater, the Glenlivet, Jameson, and everything the Irish distillers do. They own like huge vineyards in Jacobs Creek and Wyndham Estate. They also own locally they own the Corby Distillery in Windsor, so the Hiram Walker, so anything that's J.P. Weiser's or like those really cool whiskeys like Lot 40.
Okay.
And Lamb's rum from the Maritimes. So like it's a huge company. For them to be interested in what we were doing with Ungava, some people were sad that Ungava was sold to an Ontario company. It turns out it's actually not an Ontario company, it's a European company, Pernod Ricard. But I'm not sad about that. I think it puts the Quebec micro distilling industry on the map, whereas the visibility it gives for like all the other micro distilleries and what we do here with like gins and crazy things like that was really important. So, however, I did lose my management position when we sold to
with the acquisition time.
Yeah, with the acquisition. Is that my fridge making that huge hum that we have to take care
of?
It
could be.
Let's not even cut. Let's just keep.
Well, like
I'm gonna bang on the fridge.
There we go.
The fridge that has
the New York
Jets, which we're gonna talk about later.
The New York Jets are really important. Yeah. So what happened was they sold to Corby, so Pernod Ricard, and my management position was cut, but they kept me on board as brand ambassador. So I went back to being the brand ambassador for the Ungava portfolio. So Ungava, of course, vodka, Chic-Choc rum, Couloir des Bois. So I had this crazy idea where my girlfriend and I, we drink so much Amaro at home or vermouths that we figured, why don't we try to make some? So I started making dry vermouth with like Trebbiano wine and just adding like plants that we had macerating in jars, and we started making vermouth, and then we started making aperitivo in Amaro, and then we just had these great products in my basement.
And at this point, you were management, I don't know, but did you ever actually produce?
No, I wasn't part of the production, but I was really interested. So the director of production at Ungava, Dara, who's got a PhD in biotechnologies, specifically from the University of Moscow in production of beverages. Who we're lucky enough to have here in Quebec with us. I was always asking him a lot of questions. I was really interested. So kind of had an idea of how you had the plants and the citrus and the fruit macerate with neutral alcohol in jars, and then you add those and assemble those to the wine, add sugaring agents, and make a vermouth, right? So we made it, and then we bottled them, had labels like artisanal, and we just gave them out as Christmas presents, just for fun. And then some people were like, "Oh, if you do this for real, we'll invest with you." And I was like, "You're crazy, man. You're a crazy person." So it turns out, like, I had those recipes and those prototypes, and then we were looking for a place to produce, and I was supposed to collaborate with another distillery in Montreal, and then that didn't turn out. 3 months in, we kind of went separate ways. And then I knew the guys from Mariana, and I knew where their growth was and what their needs were, was really someone who was going to represent their brands adequately. So great products, really nice small distillery in Mauricie region in Louisville. And then like
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just curious because
please cut me off because I will never stop.
Well, you think before they were worried that if they were to do that approach, that they'd lose control of the vision of their products or how it would be sold in the marketplace? Like, it just seems just happened to be a perfect fit. Like, the timing couldn't be any better for them.
The timing could not have been better for them and for me. So, I mean, when it didn't work out with the other distillery, which we will not name, it was kind of done in a shitty fashion by email after 3 months of R&D, and it was like, really? I just went to the boys of Mariana with a solid deal for them, representation deal and co-packing fees. So we basically just lend our brands to them, the license of our brands, and they become the producers. Okay. And like they hadn't ever looked for an agency because they thought they could do it on their own. Turns out when you're repping, like, even if it's just Quebec, it's like 402 SAQ stores plus all the restaurants and bars and hotels plus all the events you do. Plus they had no employees at the distillery, so they were doing all the production, all the marketing, all the sales. Like, it was impossible at some point. I mean, it was part of their process, and like, it was growing, but at that point they needed someone. I mean, I'm going to quote JP saying, like, and this is going to sound very pretentious. I hope it's not. It's like, in our wildest dreams, we would have had Mario D'Amico working for us. I was like, wow, that's a really nice compliment. And now they do. But in my wildest fucking dreams, I found the two craziest motherfuckers to make the products for me, and who already have a distillery and they already know what they're doing. So just like submitting the products to the SAQ was so much easier. Just like coordinating all the suppliers, like from like the closures to the shrink wraps to the labels to the glass to the ingredients to the everything was so much easier. So it was a great timing for both of us. Yeah.
And you had the networks from, outside in terms of, yes, they may have had the SAQ and experience doing other things, but with your work experience, with Angava and so forth, you knew how to take this and just like kill it.
So, I mean, I'm not going to say we're killing it yet. I mean, you guys can see the board there that has our daily distributions for all our products, and it's a lot of work, and so we're not killing it yet, but we've definitely grown the Mariana portfolio to another level, and it's a lot of work.
So what gets you up to do this work? Like, why this work? Why is this the thing that gets you going for those long hours?
What's the specific word that it's alcoholism? Do you know that?
Oh, yeah. Somewhat.
You flirt with it too? So
daily basis?
Yeah.
I used to be a football coach.
Okay.
From a very good. I'm not going to spare you all the youth background, but I quit. I didn't graduate from the philosophy program at McGill to do music. And then we did other things, and then the music didn't really work. And then I got the opportunity to coach football in my old high school in Montreal, Collège Mont-Saint-Louis, Kodiak's alumni represent. And then I became director of the football program. Which is a position I had them create for me. So I was doing that for a while, coaching kids in our juvie team actually was in Division 1, which is the highest level of competition. I mean, we got killed by everyone, but we were still trying to compete in Division 1. It was a lot of hours. Coaching football at that level is like it's a nonstop. It's 24/7. If you're not on the field, you're working out or you're watching videos. So it was too much work for, I want to say, too small of a salary, because we had children I had to feed, we had a mortgage.
Yeah.
So I decided to go back to the hospitality side, and was hired as a bar chef at this place called Les Incorruptibles in Montreal, which is now closed. So we opened that. So we did that. But while I was doing all that, we were like, how do you transition from coaching football to being the bar chef in like a respectable establishment? So I was surprised when he hired me. I had a blog. Do people still have blogs?
Yeah, for sure.
So this was like 2011 and 12 maybe. So I was writing stories. I like to tell stories, and it was always related to cocktails. And the owner of that bar, Eric, who's actually our neighbors 2 doors down, had read my blog, and when the position applied for bar chef, I applied. He's like, I know this name, and he's like, I read your blog, dude. I'm like, yeah, but I coach football. He goes, but can you run this restaurant for me in the bar program? I'm like, I don't know, never done it. We'll see. And he fucking hired me. So that's pretty crazy of him to do that. So I did that, and then so the idea was we were collecting spirits at home. My wife and I. We had a huge collection, like we're talking like 400 bottles, like something like most SAQ stores don't have in terms of selection. Like we like spirits, but this is going back to like my youth, where I wasn't even a drinker. I didn't even how teenagers we drink.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't drinking as a teenager. I started drinking when I was 19. But an uncle.
When you say that, do you mean you weren't? Like you were just pounding down like the beer and whatever.
No.
You weren't enjoying the drink.
No. I literally mean I had never had like.
Okay, sip.
I don't drink. Well, like I wasn't drinking. Like we wouldn't have like illegal parties where we would buy beers illegally.
Yeah. But even enjoying it, you wouldn't. Like
it
wasn't for you at the time.
Like I got wasted when I was 14. Almost like went to ethyl coma and like just didn't drink after that.
Okay.
My whole adolescence, my whole high school. So we had an uncle who had a reception hall in Montreal, and we'd go help out and. Like, I don't know if I should like say this openly, but he would let me bartend during service like we were doing Italian weddings, and like they would all go to the kitchen and start plating and servicing, and I would like tend the bar, and I was fascinated by like the bottles on the bar, like different colors and gins, and why does he have 4 gins? Why do we need 4 gins? And like this is like in the 90s, like who knew anything about gins anyways? And they had all these like Italian things and grappas and sambucas, like and it was fascinating to me. I was actually studying cocktail recipes. I had never had a cocktail in my life, and I actually could at that point I was like 16, could tell you how to make like I don't know, name any cocktail. I could tell you how to make it, but I had never tasted it. So I always liked the knowledge behind cocktails and spirits. I was really fascinated by that. And then when we got to like start drinking and whatever, I was interested in collecting them and knowing them. So when I got the job at Incorruptible, 3 months in, so I was 3 months removed from being a full-time football coach, there was a job opening, ironically, this will at Pernod Ricard, for the Quebec position for a brand ambassador for the world's second largest selling vodka, which is Absolute, from the Absolute company. And I suddenly became so interested in the Absolute company and how they market things and what they do. Like,
so give an example. What makes it so unique from your experience?
Okay, so, I'm not here to like publicize.
No. That's a good story because you're writing blogging stories. So what was?
No, but like the Absolute company in 1979, the Swedish government decided they were going to export a product to like a huge Western market. So the Absolute company, like Lars Olsen Smith, a century before, had started this vodka. It was known as the Vodka King in Sweden, which it was a state-ran monopoly in Sweden, but he outsmarted them, and he bought a fucking island outside of like I want to say Oslo, and it wasn't part of like the monopoly. Yeah. And he set up shop there, and he would sell vodka. He would pay a boat to take people to the island and have them taste their vodka and buy it. And this was like the 1800s, and he was known as the Vodka King because he outsmarted the Swedish government, and he patented his continuous distillation method, which takes like 4 days, and the vodka comes out at like something like 96.8% pure ethanol, and like they don't even filter it after. And so anyone who has a doubt in their mind that Absolute is not the world's best vodka has no idea about vodka. I don't care about any other brands, even our own vodka, you know. So like I was really fascinated by the way they did that in that story, but then they decided to market this in the US and come out with the world's first premium vodka. And we're talking like $22 like in the 70s or 80s, which, you know, wasn't a lot of money, but it was still more than we were paying for like Russian vodkas or for basically moonshine. So he hit the New York market, and then everyone has seen them. There were ads for Absolute. There was no bottle involved, but you knew it was an Absolute ad because somewhere there was the shape of that like apothecary bottle. And they collaborated with like Andy Warhol, and they did like crazy things, and that whole campaign and the way you sold vodka, and that was really interesting for me to be part of that, to be the Quebec ambassador for Absolute.
For you now, like it seems like there's two parts of you: the front-facing part where it's customer-centric. I really like talking to people, and then just the pure passion for the product.
Yeah.
So when you're deciding to start your own company, or when even as your career progresses in the industry, how much does each of those two play a role in it? Like,
well, I mean, I like part of our job is going out to SAQ stores and just talking to people, and they're real people.
Yeah,
they're like actual human beings who work retail stores, and they have stories, and it's also going to bars and restaurants and talking with like bartenders.
I'm just on the SAQ part. I'm just really curious because it's obviously, you know, government run and so forth. When you say that, do you mean when you walk in, you see those mini booths where the tasters would be like? Is that what you mean by getting involved?
Well, or that's part of the job as well. But no, on a daily basis, we go to like 6 or 10 stores, whatever. We just talk to the staff.
Okay.
Talk to the director, the manager, but also the wine counselor and the other staff, and who's ordering. And hey, have you seen our new vodka? Do you think we have space for it? Can you order it? Can we put it on the shelf here? So I mean, it just relaying this passion that we have about our products, like it's a lot of fun. sometimes, some people don't like them, but most times, and again with Marmelade, like people love it. And they're like, why? You're so cool that you're doing this. I'm like, well, I'm so happy that you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I was in a store yesterday and this wine counselor, his name is Francois in DDO, and he's been there for 28 years, and he's tasting it and he says, can I be honest with you? Like, I was worried about what he was going to say. And he's like, this is by far and without doubt the two best Quebec products to have come out yet in the history of our. I'm like, wow, shit! I started crying, put my shades back on. that's a huge fun.
You can't see me cry. You can't see me cry.
Wow, that's
I did enjoy a bit. Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun. So I like being out there talking to people. Obviously, that's a lot of fun, but and then there's at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work that doesn't get seen.
Yeah.
Which drives us a lot. Like we keep the way we analyze the market data in terms of what our competitors are doing in that store and how we can go after it, and how we organize that, just the way we look at those numbers and how we plan what our objectives are. Like obviously that's very stimulating as well.
And how much time would you say you split between the two? Like really the going to find the people, whether it's customers or not customers that are actually buying the product, but people that actually can bring it into the store versus the strategizing on the marketing side.
I want to say it would have to be more. I would love to have more time to plan more.
Okay.
So a lot of times we're just like, when you've worked your 120th hour in that week, basically you're just improvising at some point. So I would like to
and
have
then someone
more
has
time.
to do a podcast for
That's a lot of fun. So, I'd like to be able to do more planning. So I have a friend of mine was talking to me about this last week, where he has a content and digital content shop, and they do very well. And now he's got 25 employees, and he goes, the reason why I'm the happiest about having 25 employees doing the legwork right now is that for 6 hours a day, I sit in my office with the door closed, and I'm like, where's he going with this? He's like, and all I do is plan. Like, wow, that's such a beautiful luxury.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much time do we sit at these desks? Less than we spend doing legwork for now. So, I mean, the core of the battle is being in the stores, talking to the people, going out there to events. Like, we have an event later today. Like, we'll be bartending at this event from 9 to 3 a.m. And they're just talking to those people is super important. So that's more important maybe than planning. So sometimes we do neglect the planning more than I would like.
And in terms of products, so now right now for your own Iberville brand, there's two products. Is there any new products that are being added in? Or?
Yeah. So we made an aperitivo, which originally, and I'll get you guys to taste it, was supposed to be in between the bitter style and the aperitivo style. So for those who are not familiar, the Amaro family is the general family for herb liqueurs made in Italy. But it's not geographical, it's a style. It's also the Italian word for it is Amaro. But you can think of Scottish products like Drambuie, or Irish products like Irish Mist, but even in France there's Chartreuse, and there's Benedictine. And if you look at the Germans with their Jagermeister, they have a whole variety of herb liqueurs that we don't even know of. And in Spain they have the yerbas, which is the same idea. So all herb liqueurs are categorized in herb liqueurs, but the Italian style and branch are called Amari, which is the plural of Amaro. And in that category there's aperitivis and Amari. And in the aperitivi category there's the general aperitivo, but there's also the bitter category, bitter. So, I mean, if we're thinking about major brands that I don't want to name, but Campari would be a bitter, and Aperol would be an aperitivo. So we tried to do something that would be in between both styles in terms of amermelade, which means bitter marmalade, which is actually what it tastes like. We want it to be somewhere in between the bitter and the aperitivo style. Then in the last focus group, we realized that doing so, being in between two things, you're actually being just that. You were in between two things. There's no
real focus on what you're trying to.
Yeah, and all the bartenders this is fine, this is bitter enough, it's awesome. And all the general public in that focus group was it's a little too bitter. So I think locally in Quebec, people are not familiar with bitterness as much as we would be growing up in Italian family.
It's definitely a palate thing. When you give a Campari or a bitter to someone the first time, remember the first time I told you about Negronis? to me are really they're pretty sweet because of the vermouth in there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just don't react well to it the first time.
And it's also
and the funny thing with Negronis is like there's so many different style Negronis too.
Yeah.
Like I had one recently that was with tequila in the mix, and I told you about that one. It just creates a little more sweeter and whatnot. And I just find cocktails are just you can say you've tried this Negroni or whatnot, but there's so many variations, so many mixes. Even changing gin soda and just changing the gin or the soda, it's crazy how Angava would taste different than this or whatnot within your drink. You know, it just changes the whole complexity of it.
Definitely. And with Negronis, like sometimes we call them angry Negronis, where you'd be using like Campari and some very bold or extravagant gin with some maybe barrel-aged vermouth, and you'd have something that you qualify as an angry Negroni. And then we'd have something that we'd qualify if you're using Amarmelade with like Canopé gin, which is very, it's like gentle and subtle and elegant. Then you'd have something that we like to call, like in French, des Negronis gentils, like they're very kind.
Okay.
You'd have
there's a range,
a spectrum, a range of different kind of flavor. So realizing that we were in between both, we decided to stick to the aperitivo style, and rather than having a product that's in between both, having both products. So we are working, you guys will be lucky enough to taste it later, on Rose Amère, which will come out pink, because we're using rhubarb and strawberries, but will be bitter as fuck.
Okay.
So that we're working.
Now I'm excited. Now I'm excited to try this.
It's really, I mean, so we're going back. I'm gonna go back and just recap a bit and say, okay, you have someone here that in their teens didn't drink at all, right? There was an appreciation for the marketing.
Bimbo didn't drink at all after 14.
Correct.
That first year of adolescence.
Exactly. I just don't want to harp on that incident. I don't want to mention it. So after that, incident, the drinking stopped, and there was a huge admiration for the market. It sounds like the marketing of the bottle, the branding,
also the art of
the art,
and the knowledge.
Yeah.
So where's that? Because now you went to also buying 400 bottles, tasting. Why do this? Was it because you felt like, I want to taste something that I want? Like there wasn't something in the market that you really enjoyed, and you're like, no, people need to taste this. I like this. Why?
So it's basically only because there was a gap in the market. No.
Again, one of those gaps in the market.
No. So going back again to that adolescence, there was I spent a summer with my grandmother in '95. Where there was just her and me for 2 months in the house in Italy with the cousins and the family.
So you're nonna.
My nonna, and her husband wasn't there, my grandpa, and my parents weren't there, so I was alone with my grandmother. And so she was kind of enjoying herself, like she was with her cousins and whatever. So she would have a drink or two at night. I mean, that's fine, it is cool, but she would let me taste a few things. Ooh. So like flavored vodkas, and I remember tasting Aperol and Campari, and I was fascinated by the fact that they tasted just like our sodas, because like in Italy, like most sodas are bitter, like they're basically unalcoholized Campari.
And that's how they market it too, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's bitter.
Yeah.
And then there's Chinotto and all those. Chinottos basically taste like Amaro, but no alcohol and bubbly, like Brio. So I was tasting Aperol, and I thought it was fascinating, and the whole being accustomed to bitterness kind of grew from there. So when I was at Absolute, and then in Havana Club, and then moved on to Domaine Pinac, which became Ungava Spirits, and working with that. And the way the micro distilling industry in Quebec has evolved, everyone's making gin. As we speak, there are 20, I don't want to be wrong, so I think there are 28 different gin SKUs in Quebec.
Wow. Locally
made gin, like different kind of SKUs. Which I think that's a lot. So everyone's making vodka and gin, and like a few of us have spice rums, and then there's like Giano Sivo from Maison Sivo, who makes like these really weird, crazy things that are awesome. Like he makes an herb liquor as well called Shaman. He makes fruit eau de vie, and like he's just some Hungarian immigrant who's got a farm. He's making awesome things. So the industry is evolving and growing. And it's not that there wasn't anything in the market that I appreciated, because I'm still going to say it. I think Campari is the best thing like God has ever given us. Not that I'm, not that I believe. I mean, like Campari is like the best thing. But there wasn't anyone making this kind of stuff in Quebec, and it's things that I really like, but also things that are part of a story and a heritage.
Yeah.
So like on our business cards and on our, it says Spiritueux Iberville en préparation depuis 1953. So the company's really not really that old.
Yeah.
But 53 is the year my grandpa immigrated to Quebec, and it's a typical immigrant story that I don't want to use to sell vodka or sell other products, but it's the real story. Like my father was born in February of 53. In May of 53, my grandpa came here on his own, leaving behind his child and his wife, and worked for 3 years until he could afford to have them come over. And then that house he built, like in the 60s on La Rue Iberville here in Villeray, is the house I still live in, like any good Italian boy would do. And you know, now that my father's a widower, he lives upstairs. You know, and we all still live together in that house that my grandpa built out of sacrifice. Also, my grandpa had my name, who's also called Mario D'Amico. So for me, it was important to homage the sacrifices that he did, so we could be doing this right now. Because sometimes people are like, yeah, you work really hard. We work 100 hours a week, maybe, but it's a lot of fucking fun. I'm not there in like in the fields, like.
But you're doing what you like, right?
Just to say, you know, zapare, like working really hard, like slave work, basically, like the railroads or constructions, like it was a lot of work. I'm lucky enough because he did all the sacrifices that I could be selling booze and having a lot of fun. And also we made the prototypes in the basement where he used to make wine with his brothers.
And that's what I was
friends.
touch on too, because a lot of, even for me, when my nonna used to, you know, hang the sausages and everything, my grandfather passed away, my nonna passed away before I was born, so I didn't see the wine part. But the homemade essence of it and the keeping your culture, I can't buy it, I'll make it kind of thing. And that to me is like the passion that I hear or when I read from you. It's like, you know, I'm gonna do my own version. It seems you're very proud to be from Quebec as well.
Definitely.
The Quebec ingredient aspect of it, but I'm also Italian, like you just mesh it together.
Yeah.
And that was the excitement when I saw this. I was like, oh my God, I could taste something like pure WAP made in Quebec. This is amazing.
Yeah,
like,
it's funny that you put it that way, because it's, the main focus, it has to be that it's Quebecois but also Italian.
Yeah.
And those two things are really important. My mother was French Canadian. She was from Granby, and like the whole marmalade thing is, I remember having marmalade at my French Canadian grandma's house, and she would put ginger shavings in there. And when you're a kid and you're tasting ginger, you're like, wow, what the fuck is this? It's so like tangy and whatever. So we do put ginger in our marmalade for that. So it's always, it has to be half and half.
Yeah.
Mezza polpette, like half a meatball, which is what we are. Because I'm very proud to be Quebecois as well, and also very grateful to live here. I think, you know, Quebec is one of the best places to live on earth.
Yeah, it's definitely.
You know what I mean? I think we're all very fortunate, you know, that our main issue is potholes. Like, if that's the main issue, we're good, man. It's cool. So, we kind of strayed. I think I need to do this. I think we need to like have something to drink now.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So we didn't talk about Amarno, but going back to a marmelade, which is kind of like a sweeter, maybe not as bitter aperitivo. The French do a thing called picombière, where they would throw, or you can do this with Campari. I do it all the time. I used to have Campari drop shots in my Pabst beer. I mean, if you haven't had that, you haven't lived.
I haven't had that. That's amazing.
That's the Italian Carval, basically?
Yeah, basically. So we also are fortunate enough to rep the Harricana Brasserie for their on-premise sales. And great place here on Jean Talon, corner of Clark. So Harricana makes this great beer, which is their 86, which is called Gala Galaxy, which is a collaboration with the Milton Cidery. And they actually age this in cider casks. So it's a really bitter beer. Not bitter, sorry. It's a really sour beer. So to me, I can drink a bit of this, but eventually I think it's too bitter to drink, too acid to drink a lot of.
What's the main, for people that don't, and the descriptors it's harder, what would be your, how would you differentiate bitter and sour?
So sour is basically acidity.
Okay.
So something sour is like Sour Patch Kids or lemon, and that's acidity.
Okay.
And something bitter is something like endives. So bitterness is funny. Like the reason we taste bitterness as humans, apparently in the evolution, is that bitterness is detected when something is poisonous.
Okay.
And that's done so, like, you know, originally in evolution, for those who believe in evolution, people would, like, kids would, like, stray and grab things they weren't supposed to eat, and it would taste poisonous and bitter, so they would spit it out.
Yeah.
So we've evolved to be accustomed to bitterness. Now, some things are bitter, and I'm not saying they're poisonous. I'm not saying marmelade is poisonous. But bitterness is something that you have to grow accustomed to, and that some people are actually very sensitive to.
It's like salt. I don't think anybody's born liking salt, but because we use it so much that we just get accustomed to it and we actually love it in the end.
And then what would we do at the end of the day without salt?
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, I'm a fat bastard. I love sugar. Like, I mean, and what would we do without sugar? But originally, maybe.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
So bitterness is the same. Like right now, I'm at a point I have to say, like, what would we do without bitterness?
Yeah.
Like I like bitterness in most things, in coffee, in chocolate.
Yeah. Same here.
Coming back to endives, like there's nothing like radicchio and endive salad. Like I love it. So a marmelade is not as bitter. It's more aromatic. So. Besides the citrus and the peach and the apricots, and we use locally harvested sea buckthorn argousier from Fruits L'Ami. Shout out to them in Yamashish. And we use sumac, so vinaigrier, and sweet gale, miracle seeds, Méric Baumier. So there's a lot of local products, local flavors, but it's a very aromatic bouquet where we also use ginger and rose and fennel seeds and I don't know what verveine is in English.
Verveine it is. Let's keep it in French.
In mint, so there's a lot of things. So we're just throwing a marmelade, you say when, plus it just adds like this beautiful color to it.
Yeah, it really does.
But in such a sour beer, which I love sour beers, adding a little bit of sweetness like this and bitterness will just make it a whole lot easier to drink.
Rounds it out a bit.
Rounds it out. So I think we were at the point where we needed to hydrate. So here,
Thank you very much.
Enjoy that. Let me know what you think. So you can always throw a marmelade in most beers, like lagers or sour beers or white beers. Maybe less in like darker beers.
Okay. So when you first came up with the recipe for marmelade, was it have this alone, or always with the idea that this is going to be mixed into either beers or
so we drink. All the Amari that we drink at home, my girlfriend and I, and we always drink it neat.
Okay.
We don't even keep them in the fridge.
Yeah.
We always drink them neat, no ice, no nothing. I mean, and that's also, I like cocktails as well, but I'll never have cocktails with a meal. I will never have like a food pairing with cocktails or go to a fancy restaurant and have cocktails with a fancy meal. That chef has put together a plate that can only be shared with like flat white wine or red wine or like Bud Light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the focus is the plate. So I think we elaborated the recipes so that they can be drank alone.
Okay.
Or with friends.
What's your, because I think I know the answer here. Because I hate when, say we go to a restaurant with friends. I'm sorry if you're one of my friends that do this. But if the chef put together a certain plate, because now we're talking about, we love food, drinks are one of them. If the chef put together a certain plate, and you're like, I don't like oranges, take that out.
Yeah, they take out an ingredient from the.
I find it's almost the chef's gonna cry. Like if I was the chef, I'd cry. So if I don't like something, let me just try it out. See if my taste buds will change. Because I've discovered so many times where I thought I don't like something. Wasn't my favorite.
Is the foie gras story coming up?
The foie gras.
Oh my god! Here we go.
You ever had foie gras before?
I'll let you finish because the answer to that is too long.
Okay, so then we won't talk about the answer here because we have to talk more about booze. But the foie gras story for me is, it was okay. I had the pâté foie gras. I went to a restaurant called Maison Verte in West Island, and they do it poêlé, which is fried.
Yeah.
That changed my life. In fact, I've been out with friends who say, the pâté is not for me, forget it, they have it. It changes their lives too.
Definitely.
So that's what I mean by, I was just curious your take on that. If you'd ever go to a restaurant and say, take the...
So the quick answer was, I have 26 food allergies.
Oh
wow.
So we eat at the restaurant like daily, so it's fine. I know I've grown to manage them. I do have reactions often, and I live with them. My allergies are nobody else's problem.
Yeah.
So I don't eat fish or shellfish or any poultry. I don't eat nuts. I don't eat legumes. I don't have like any beans. I can't have any of those.
Wow.
I can't have avocados. I can't have melon. I can't have clementines. I can't have sunflower seeds. There's a lot of things I can't have. So going out, anything I eat, there's no way in hell I can also afford to be picky about it. So I will never say I don't like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing I don't like. Like legit, maybe like I don't like liver steaks. I think they taste metally. But if that's what you're giving me, I'm gonna fucking eat it. And I'm trying to raise my children like this because my children also have food allergies. Whereas I'm not gonna make 2 meals. This is what we're eating. If you don't like it, you better grow accustomed to it because this is what we're fucking eating. Do you rather go to bed starving? I'm not gonna make 2 meals. This is what you're eating. You have food allergies. You can't be picky on top of it. So I will never go to the restaurant and say, oh yeah, make that salad without oranges. Because I already gotta tell them, make that salad without almonds. You know what I mean? Because I can't have that. So I'm not being picky about anything. Or like,
But this stems from for sure. This stems from Nonna and the family because I'm totally agreeing with you here.
Yeah.
My mom's
You eat what's put in front of you.
Yeah, this is the meal. It's great to tell me that you'd prefer without this or whatnot. That's fine. But this is the meal today and now. I'm not making one for each person.
Legit beat the shit out of me if I was
Yeah,
like, I'm not
yeah,
having
yeah.
this. It's like, yeah, you're having this or you're going to bed. And I'd be like, okay. But that was a touchy subject because sometimes she'd be like, no, you have to eat this fish. And I was like, and I would eat it and then I'd throw up and I was sick. But you go back 30 years, people didn't know what food allergies was. They thought I was pussying out on them, right?
Yeah. Or you didn't like it or
Oh, he's being difficult. No, every time I have the chicken pot pie, Mom, I'm going to vomit and be sick. So, no, we can't afford to be picky. But why were we talking about that? About cocktails. Yeah, yes. So I don't want to have cocktails with a meal. I'll have cocktails before and after.
Yeah.
But,
I think what we're talking about could segue properly in how I discovered your products, and it's whether it's restaurants, wines, or even liqueurs, Campari being one big exception. I don't like buying the same thing over and over. So how do you get to a market where I find a lot of people are just used to always buying the same thing, especially with how the SAQ markets, there's specific SKUs or wines that they'll always advertise and go over and over. How do you get to people that are used to not trying something new? Like I know sampling, we talked about it before, plays a big role of actually being there and making them try. Yeah. But is there any other specific thing you actually
other marketing strategies that you may use? Let's talk about the marketing side of it.
Okay. Well, definitely sampling is huge. So like where you were giving that example where you're at a restaurant and someone says, I don't like it. And you say, well, try it. And then they like it. So some people will be like, I don't like gin. I'm like, just have it. And they're like, oh, fuck, I like gin.
Yeah.
And going back to the Ungaba days, Ungaba was the first local gin. And people were like, I don't like gin. And in their minds, I don't know what they were drinking. But because Beefeater is amazing and all gins are awesome. There's no gin that I dislike.
Do you think it was the color of the?
Because had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, because some people tell me, it doesn't look like a real gin.
It looks like urine. We would get that all the time. I hate to say it.
But I don't want to say it.
But there's also.
I've had a restaurant, a really fancy restaurant, tell me I can't have this gin here because it looks like urine. I'm like, well, you're an idiot. But whatever. So how do you do it? Like you just force them to go out of their comfort zone and try something new. Now, this is definitely surprising at times with Amer Noir, which is really like weird and funky thing, that we would go to like stores like, I want to say in the outskirts or regions, and you were like, try it, it's kind of like herb, and like, I'm not sure, and then it tastes like, wow, this is so savory and delicious. So like forcing them, so sampling is huge. I think we do an okay job on our social media. I think obviously the era is at social media, so how do you communicate what you're doing? Is it lifestyle? Is it appreciation? I think we do okay. So what do you actually do? So the influencers will definitely also be the people on premise, so the restaurant, the bartenders, so making sure they're presenting and serving your product in a proper way, that definitely has a lot of turnaround.
When you say proper way, you educate people on.
So part of our job is we train we present our products in depth, but we also offer all our on-premise clients. We'll train your staff. So gather your staff. We'll have staff training, and there's a lot of pictures of that on Iberville's Instagram.
Yeah,
so that the staff is there, and we're having it's casual, but it's not academic, but it's rigorous. some people were taking notes, and it's like, what is vodka? What do you call vodka? What is it made of? Why is it vodka? What's distilling? So you go over. So you give them knowledge. You empower them to, and you're also seducing them by being sympathetic, because I think I'm a pretty cool guy, right?
Yeah.
So they want to sell your products after. They want to have their customers come in and say, "I'll have a shot of Jagger," and be like, "Wait a second, you're not having Jagger? Do you know Amar Noir?"
Yeah.
And then they're empowered to tell them what it is and what it's made of. So there's a lot of that. Then I think
you find, again, I always cut him off, so I'm sorry I cut you off. Do you find there is a fear in that market to say, like, the customer's asking for this, I don't want to piss them off? Because technically it's the restaurant's brand or the bar's brand on the line.
It is.
You have to overcome that.
It is. So that was a struggle, like at Ungava, where we had this amazing product called Coureur de Bois, which is a maple cream. So shout out to Coureur de Bois, which is a great product.
Yeah. I've had it in my house.
So it's at Bailey's. You guys can come out. It's fine. Like this is so unofficial. It's like a cream at Bailey's alcohol level with Bailey's style, just with like maple flavors. And my daily struggle was telling like restaurant owners and on-premise clients, like, why are you still serving Bailey's?
Yeah.
Because Bailey's because we don't ask for charity. Like we work promotional deals with all these restaurants. So even at the size we are with Iberville, like, we're not asking for charity. Aperol's not giving you a cent. I'll give you $25 a case, and let's not sell any more Aperol. So we would do that with Coureur de Bois, but they would be like, yeah, but my clients want Bailey's. And I was like, do they really? Like, they come here for what? Why do they? And I'm not talking about like huge chains. I'm talking about like specific restaurants where there's an actual fucking waiter who's presenting things. And that one lady who'll be like, yeah, I'll have Bailey's on the rocks. If your staff isn't able to say, oh, do you know Coureur de Bois? Or when someone says, I'll have Aperol Spritz, to be able to say, do you know Amar Malade? Like, that customer...
My favorite drink of 2017. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Like, will people be like, oh, if they don't have Aperol, I'm going to destroy them on Yelp? Of course not. You go to the restaurant for an experience. Most people. And that one, like, miserable woman or, like, asshole who's mad at you because you don't have his specific drink, then he should just drink it at home. I mean, we did not have, I hate to say this, I'm not going to name brands. We did not, when we were working the hospitality at Eco, there's some specific brands that we just didn't have. I'm not going to make sangria. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We also don't serve steak and fries. There's some things we don't do. So is that an issue? Of course it is. But even like in SAQ stores where you're like, oh, well, you're selling so much Aperol, good for that. Do you think you can just like maybe suggest that? And they're like, people don't care, they just want to buy it. But that's false. People do care.
Do you know the bar called Le Lab? They have two locations?
Yeah, of course I do.
So Le Lab.
I'm looking at Charles. He knows how slippery this slope is.
Well, as you say, Le Lab from, they have their own spirits as well. But what I'll say about them in terms of their bars, there are two bars. One of the bars that I went to.
They own the third one now.
Oh, it's the one now? Okay.
It's not called The Lab, it's a collaboration with Mauricie Brasserie, friends of ours.
And the reason why I'm just mentioning them in general is when you go to that specific location, that bar for a drink.
You have to remortgage your house to pay for your drink.
That too, I agree. That too, but...
Did I say that already?
We interviewed them, by the way, already.
Yeah.
Yes. So what I like about them, my first experience was that they would introduce me to new liquors. And that's what I'm trying to get here is you have to understand the customer's intent when they come in and they want to try something different. You should be saying, hey, got this new product here. I want you to try it. I know you normally have this, but just try it. Yeah. And the way they do it, I'll be honest, is interesting because they'll make that drink for someone else who's asking for it. They take a straw, they cap that straw, and they say, here, try it. So you don't feel dedicated to that because you're talking about the price, that expensive price, because it is. And you don't feel bad about now wasted $18 on a drink.
Yeah.
So I like the way they do it. Should everyone be doing that? No, because then it'll change the whole scope of the whole industry. But should more bars be attuned to the person's taste versus the brand that they mention.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you're.
I think everyone should be doing that. No,
I think
I disagree with you. I think everyone should be doing that. I think that's what. I mean, I was gonna say, except when you go to like to Saint Subai Barbecue, but even then, like the fucking cocktail menus there, I made those 3 cocktails are my creations on. So I mean, even there at Saint Subai, you can get an experience.
Yeah.
I think everyone should be interested.
I think what Vince is getting at, and I don't know.
Yeah,
Sorry if I'm wrong,
go.
but there's a lot of people that go out to drink because they want to be in an environment where they don't really care about the drinking part. They want to be familiar and they want a whole other environment. Whereas at the lab, it's more of I'm going there because I want to drink. I don't care about the rest. Like I want to experience something.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's some bars that are like that.
Specific vocations.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes I just want to have matzo burger A&W.
Yeah.
But sometimes I want to try, something else.
Sometimes I want to get shit-faced wasted.
And I guess.
And
that's
sometimes
why-
I don't. I just want to enjoy my drink.
Clubs. I mean,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I think we've strayed. So Amer Noir.
Amer Noir.
Amer Noir.
Yeah.
I've tried it with the cola that you recommended on the
Yeah,
website.
1642. Yeah. So
I thought that was
shout out to them. 1642 sodas. They make really great tonic water as well, and then they make a ginger.
So tonic water always in a glass bottle.
Of course.
Why? For people I don't know, this I've been telling you for a while. Why glass?
I don't know why.
So,
You know why, Charles? Why is tonic water always served in a bottle?
I don't know.
so when you have
Enlighten us.
when you have bubbles, when you have plastic, it actually seeps through.
Really?
So on a glass bottle, it stays in.
Oh.
So when you open it, that's the full tonic water.
Okay.
So that's really the real reason why it happens. And I remember I made you try it one time. There's a drink called Monkey 47.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
A gin, yeah.
Yeah, so very, very unique.
Also belongs to Pernod Ricard.
Oh, really? Really? That's a German micro distillery, right?
It's a German micro distillery. It was bought out by Pernod Ricard
Nice.
last year.
But that one there, we tried it more on the expensive range, on the ridiculously expensive range, honestly, for what it is. But I told him like we have to try it with both. And when we did it, we do actually taste a difference.
I would not throw tonic water in Monkey 47.
No, we tried it alone, and
Alone
we tried
and
it
then
with.
Mary and
Yeah.
I will just fill a glass and just drink it neat.
Yeah.
But again, that's what do you call that? Alcoholism, yes.
Yeah.
I hope no one will take offense. I'm not making jokes.
No,
about
no,
it.
I mean,
Don't worry, I make that joke all the time.
I'm because this comment's come up a few times with other people. Is how do you, I guess, adjust to a new taste? You talk about gin. I want to talk about your product more now because I'm a noir. If someone has tasted Campari and so forth, how do they get their taste buds attuned to that type of taste and trying different things? How do you recognize a good product? Like I've heard the most common thing is try that brand or that similar products that taste every day.
Well, for
Just a sip on your lips, and you'll see how your body, your taste buds change over time, and you become almost like a connoisseur of that specific taste and what you like, what you don't like.
That's asking a lot of people. I don't think people have time to do what you're saying. But so how do you do it? Well, I don't know. Like I believe it might be easier if you have different products from the same category. You get accustomed to that family of taste.
Yeah.
So like going back to when I was acquiring an interest for vodka, I would just blind taste 4 vodkas every night and spit them out and just worry about what they tasted like. So I mean, if you try an Amaro, and the spectrum of flavors in Amari is so different.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're going from Montenegro to Averna to, I don't know, something as wild as Branca or like Branca's Fernet or things like that, like there's so many different things. You got to get accustomed to that category entirely. I'm not saying drink Amer Noir every day. Well, please do.
Drink responsibly.
But I mean, if you're trying to get accustomed to that, like have different things in that category. So much like people who, and this happens often, like with young men, where they grow to become accustomed to like whiskey. You know, it had been a thing maybe for the last 10 years. It's probably still going on. So you start like with drinking ultra-peated scotch, like from Isla, and you're like, oh, wow, this tastes like cigarettes. And then there are different like softer scotches, like like the Glenlivet, and so you drink scotch every day. That'd be a beautiful life, right? But taste different things. But I mean, the same thing comes up with wine. Like some people like, red wine should be like ménage à trois. Ménage à trois.
Yeah.
You know, and no offense to them, but I mean, that's not the red wine experience. Drink different things, but in that category. Get to learn that category.
Yeah, it's easier to compare or to know what you like when you see the reference. Like
in a very opportunistic fashion, I say drink different aperitifs.
Yeah.
Drink Aperol and Aperit and whatnot, and then have a marmelade. I'm 100% guaranteed. I'm 100% certain that you will prefer my product.
Yeah.
So I mean, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Like whatever. And in the Amaro categories, there's a lot of great Amaros that I love, and Amaro Noir is something that's more extravagant. Usually, Italian Amaro is always very flat, unless you're like in a specific type, like all the Fernet are very like harsh and herby. So like, have a few things.
Yeah.
Live a little.
For sure. So
You want to ask the last?
it's an obvious one. It's an obvious one.
I know.
Oh,
Okay,
shit.
go for it.
So I'd like to end on a lighter note.
Yeah.
So we usually have a question, and for you, I think would be if you had 3 liqueurs or any type of alcohol.
Shit.
Now you said neat, so you can't mix.
We play this game all the time. We have the answer ready.
Let's go. So 3 of them. What would you drink?
Do it.
Well, 3 of my products, obviously.
If you can't choose your products.
It's not, no. So, okay, yeah, please give me that.
Yeah.
No, so we play this game all the time with Mary, and we have 2 out of 3 that are the same, Mary and I. So it has to be Beefeater.
Okay.
I mean, we love Beefeater. Beefeater gin is like,
Wine.
it's just what gin is. It's just what that London gin style
And
thing.
is the basic Beefeater or the?
No, not even like 24 or Plymouth or those other things that Beefeater makes. Just the regular Beefeater bottle is, to me, the epitome of gin. That's what gin is. And if you don't think Beefeater is the best gin in the world, then find a pair of scissors and run in the stairs, because it is. It really is. I know it sounds like I'm saying my opinion. I'm actually stating the truth. So I would take Beefeater to a stranded island. So the people who share the offices here with us represent, or used to represent, sorry, shit, I'm still going to say it, this French Amaro from Bigalet, the Bigalet family.
Okay.
They make this thing called China China. And it has a story and a legend where the guy fell asleep making orange liqueur, burnt his orange. Now he has a burnt orange liqueur, which tastes like an Amaro, but it's like a burnt orange liqueur from France. It's fucking awesome. It's probably the best Amaro I've ever had in my life.
And this is sold.
Not probably, it is.
This is sold in the SAQs.
No, it's in private import only, and Michel and Donald, they don't represent it anymore, so I don't want to give them too much love.
Yeah.
So then, and this is the part where like most people like are like, you're a fucking weirdo. I'm gonna go on an island with Beefeater and China China and Coors Light.
Get out! Shit! I was not expecting that.
And we rep these really
Holy
cool brasseries,
shit.
and they make a lot of great things, and I love a lot of great different beers. But if I'm stranded on a fucking island, I'm gonna have Coors Light. I mean, that's what's gonna happen. That's it. I mean, I'm gonna have Coors Light.
And you're gonna have cable, and you're gonna watch all the games with the Jets.
I mean, no, I'd rather.
I want to ask that. The Jets. So we see and we follow. We were talking about before Gary Vaynerchuk and whatnot. And I was telling him, I'm by any means not, I guess, a fan of the NFL or that particular football in general, but someone who's turned me on to like the Jets just because they're losing streak and so forth. To see them win, it just feels that much better when they win. Why the Jets?
What are you doing here? What are you
Why are you hurting me? Why?
So growing up, like in the 90s, obviously, when I started watching football around 91, 92, I was a boys fan. Like I used to love the Cowboys, but because they were winning, right? And I was getting into football.
I like them because of cheerleaders. I'll be honest.
My first football jersey had number 22 on it because I loved Emmitt Smith and wanted to play running back. Then realized I was a slow, fat white kid, wasn't going to play running back. But then in the mid 90s, we'd always get a lot of broadcasts from New England or like northeastern United States. So the broadcasts were always, the 1 o'clock game was always the New York Jets. And the New York Jets had an Italian quarterback in Vinny Testaverde. And so also had the opportunity about that period to visit New York City for the first time. Fell in love with the city. Fell in love with the fact that the Jets had an Italian quarterback, and that whole underdog story and the whole New Jersey blue collar worker. Like, it's the real people. Like, you go to the Jets game, it's not like the white collar New York Giants. You know, at MetLife, and it's like the New Jersey Italians, like the fucking Sopranos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just became a hardcore Jets fan. Now, coming back to the magnet on the fridge, we were looking to expand. We were doing there was a lot of workload. I had to hire a rep to help me out, and I posted the position, got a lot of resumes. And the one guy on his resume said, "I'm a New York Jets fan," and that's the guy I hired. I mean, I don't even care if he's good or not. I'm kidding. Charles was he didn't have to apply for the job, but the first thing he brought into the office when we were moving in was the New York Jets magnet. So he is also a Jets fan, which is really important.
Very cool.
Perfect.
Hey, I really appreciate the time that you took. I know you're very busy today, week in general.
I'm not too busy.
This has been awesome. It's not every day that we get to find a product that we just fully love.
Yeah.
Both myself and Man get to share on a weekly basis every time we do a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's another thing to go and interview the founders and being Quebec,
Wow.
Italian.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it all.
Well, I mean, I appreciate
it.
that you take the time to say that, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think I should be the one thanking you, because we don't get, like, I'm gonna go out and call them out. I'm gonna call them out. I called the Italian radio because I used to listen to CFMB with my grandpa, saying, "Hey, listen, I'm doing this, whatever. Maybe I can come on air." And they're like, "No, we can sell you publicity."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so like if the Italian radio community radio isn't doing it, but you guys are doing it, I think what you guys are doing is much more important. So I think I should be the one thanking you and congratulating you for taking the time to do that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
It's very fun for us. We hope it's as fun as for you
That's
and as for us.
Yeah.
So if people want to buy your products, what?
Yeah, where's the now? This is the important part.
Yeah.
Where they go?
So our gin canapes will be, as of next week, available in most stores, so maybe like 360 stores. The other products, I mean, Malt Bleu Rum, Azimut Vodka, and obviously my products, Amer Noir and Amer Malade, or in maybe less stores. You see the distribution there on the board.
Okay.
So right now, Amer Malade is in 143 stores. So you go on saq.com, you type Amer Malade, and you say search, it'll tell you what store is the closest to you. But I mean, in the GMA, we're everywhere.
Yeah, and you can order. I mean, I've done this before.
Both products are actually on saq.com.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you can order them.
That's what I do. I don't even fuss. I just order it. I ship it to my Vaudreuil store.
Yeah.
I don't care whether they have it or not. It's their problem.
Yeah,
They get it to me.
They get it. Yeah.
And for
So you
people
can
looking
SAQ.com.
outside of Quebec, any plans for future expansion, LCBO, or even in general?
I don't. LCBO, BC, Alberta, Europe, obviously all those things are in a long-term plan. I think you have to build a history. I don't think you can just like start exporting and pretending that you like, there's a learning curve. There's also like credibility, like make it at home before you make it. I mean that was the Ungava model. I mean when Ungava was sold, it was the #1 selling gin in a 750 ml bottle in Quebec, more than any other gin, not only Quebec gins, more than Bombay and Beefeater, everyone. I think you have to make it at home first. So we've given ourselves at least 1 year run. We were released November 20th. So, I mean, before 2019, we're not going to worry about expanding. Just kick the shit out of the Quebec market. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, no further ado. I think I need another drink.
Yeah,
let's do it.
So,
thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
We gotta drink up Buttercup over here.
Yeah, this we can't keep on the podcast.
That's it. This part no. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.